Hi, I'm Daniel Green, and I'm the composer and music director of The Tale of the Gifted Prince.
And I'm Josh Reid, I'm the sound designer of The Gifted Prince.
Music director is someone who teaches all the music to the cast and works with the composer, which in this case is also me, to make sure that everything is working in the score, and then often conducts the orchestra. So kind of just making sure everything related to music for the show is working.
A sound designer basically takes all of the audible elements of the show and balances them together to create focus. So I'll take the music that Daniel has created, I'll take the vocal work that the cast has been doing, and I'll determine kind of what the focus is at any moment in the show and what the balance is at any given moment in the show. In addition to those two elements, we deal with the environmental soundscapes. So in this show particularly, there's a lot of different locations, and so we'll create the environments that those scenes are going to be taking place in.
There are a lot of moments that are both having underscoring and also sound design layered on top of each other, and then there are moments that are within music that are sort of special sound effects, and so Josh and I have been working together ever since we both got here to put that stuff together for the show.
Yeah, I would say that music in this show is really, really critical to moving us in and out of the storyline.
Seems it's time our journey should begin.
Moving us in and out of the scenes, and really just kind of balancing and creating the nuance within the music and the vocals. The sound designer kind of comes in right during the pre-production process. It's a lot of work to kind of understand where Daniel's head is, where Leslie's head is, the book writer for the show, and to basically figure out what is this world that they've already created and how do you translate that to an audience member. So a lot of the music has a bunch of nuances in terms of the orchestration that Jeffrey's been doing, the book writing that Leslie's been doing, and kind of figuring out, all right, where do we want to focus at any given point in time? So in the same way that a lighting designer is telling you where to look, a sound designer is telling you where to hear.
Well, I mean, as I've mentioned in other places, this show is based on a book that I read when I was a kid, so in some ways it's been sitting with me since I was 9 or 10 years old. And then I started writing this show with Lezlie when we were both in the BMI workshop in New York, and that was, the beginning of this was almost 14 years ago. And the show proper kind of got finished several years ago, and then we've actually been in development with Theatre Calgary for several years now, and we made it through a pandemic together, and now we're finally here, which is really exciting. But one of the things that's been really fun for me is, because it's been in my head for so long, having it now finally coming to life, seeing all of the amazing designs on stage, but then also working with people like Josh, it's so cool to see how people take something that me and Lezlie had and then put their own unique creative spin on it. They're all doing things that I don't have any idea how to do, and it's so fun to see, Josh take these ideas and run with them.
I think one of the things that's exciting about this one is it's not a mainstreamed Asian orchestration. Mm-hmm. It's very westernized, where you think about the orchestrations as a traditional band, and then on top of that you're adding in the Asian element and you're kind of westernizing Asian music. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's a really big element of the show that has been really exciting to work with Jeffrey and work with Daniel on. How do we find that balance? How do we find the composition work inside of traditional music?
Yeah, so when I wrote the music, I wrote it just on piano, and then I did vocal arrangements for the cast, and for a long time that's all it's ever been. Several years ago we did a workshop where we added a couple instruments, drums, a flute, and a cello, I think, and that was sort of just to give an idea of what it might sound like beyond piano. And then when we got the chance to do this full production at Theatre Calgary, we had the chance to think about what instruments we wanted for this band, and that was really exciting because there's just so much more you can do with a whole orchestra as opposed to just piano. So, one of the gifts in the show is a flute, and so we knew we needed a flute, and we actually were lucky to find this incredible bamboo flute player here in Calgary who's going to be a member of the orchestra. So that's kind of unique to this show.
One of the wonderful things about our roles in music and sound is that we get to basically provide voices for other people. So we do have an entire Asian cast for the show who gets to be on stage, and we get to kind of support them in whatever we can to create the music and create the worlds underneath them, which I think is really fun on this one specifically.
Yeah, I mean, the cultural considerations are something that I've obviously spent a lot of years thinking about for this show because it's really important. And I approached writing the score just from my own perspective, you know, as a white American person reading this book that was sort of set in a ancient Chinese kingdom. So yeah, I've been thinking about the cultural considerations for writing this score for a long time, and I approached it just from my own background as a white person reading this story that's set in a sort of fictional Chinese kingdom. I brought my own approach to it, which is very sort of traditional Western musical theater.
Onward ho!
Onward ho!
Onward ho!
This journey has taken ages, but now there's a path we've chosen.
This is a great kind of family adventure story, and so there's a lot of kind of Disney-type elements in there. Alan Menken is a composer that's been a big inspiration for a lot of this, but then also acknowledging the setting of the story and trying to add elements both in orchestration and in composition that reflect the Asian setting, and trying to do it in a way that is, I guess I would say, archetypal but not stereotypical, if that makes sense, so that it feels like representative of the world that we're creating on stage.
How did you know?
Besides, I would think the most important thing is that you not arrive empty-handed.
True enough.
Working with our cast has been incredible. They're all just, it makes me emotional to think about how wonderful they are. They're so talented, and they're bringing their whole spirits and souls to this process, and I'm just so grateful to be working with them.
I can save the day.
In terms of scale, we have 105 microphones for the show. About 45 of those are in the orchestra, 36 of those are on the cast, and then the remaining elements are simply voice of gods for the stage managers, so that the directors, the choreographers, the musicians can talk to each other in the middle of the show. On the output side of the system, we have about 145 loudspeakers in the space that are kind of distributed and covering various members of the audience, providing surround sound effects, low-end subwoofers, and just kind of creating a full spectrum for the audience.
In terms of the sound of the show, too, I should make sure that we shout out Jeff Coe, who's the orchestrator and music supervisor for the show, because he's really done an incredible job of taking the score and bringing it to life. And that's a big part of what the show sounds like, too, is what he chooses to showcase in terms of, like, now we're going to have a flute solo here, now we're going to have some pitched percussion, now we're going to hear the cello. And then so he and Josh have also been collaborating on that.
So mixing the show is its own art. We're grateful that Michael Giese is here mixing the show for us, supported by Bronwyn, who's the head of sound. And both of them have been with me throughout a number of years. They know kind of my style, my aesthetic when it comes to mixing the show. But talking about the 105 microphones that we have to be able to control which microphones are on and up and at what level at any given point in the show, and how those blend together. A lot of that is manual operation, and a lot of that is our A1 Michael being in tune with the cast, in tune with the show, in tune with what the orchestra's doing, to be able to anticipate and to be able to throw basically sound faders at the correct level at the right time. So I equate it very much to playing the piano during the show. We've got to be able to control which microphones of the cast are on at what levels, and making sure that when a microphone is not in use, it's not on and not clouding up the mix.
First rehearsal to opening night is a constant blur of changes and revisions and improvements, hopefully, and just hearing the score come to life in so many different ways. I think, you know, Lezlie and I wrote the drafts in our apartments in New York and Canada, and then once you're seeing it in the room, you immediately realize, you know, things that you want to change, and you see, oh, this should go here, etc. And then, you know, as the cast is learning the music, you learn a lot about what the music sounds like, and I've been adding a lot of vocal arrangements throughout the rehearsal process, which has been super fun, because all of our cast are such great singers that I just want more and more of them. So there's a lot more vocal ensemble singing than there used to be in the show, which is great. And then most of the other instruments don't come until we're in the tech process, but the band and the cast don't come together until the very end of tech, and that's always a very special day. Since I wrote everything, it's sort of faster for me to be sitting at the piano so that I can, if I realize something needs to change, I can just do it right away and it doesn't have to go through levels of organization. So yeah, I've been playing since the beginning, and I'll be playing and conducting the show through the closing of the run.
What happens now that we're here? Nata has captured most of Tong within a year. Our story's not over, will heroes appear? What happens now? Will Prince Ren come somehow, now that we're here?
Hold on. Hold on.